Greetings yet again. My apologies for all the technical problems. Not only is this a live coding stream, it's also a figure out how to use OBS stream. So now we're doing 1080p. Got the font increased. I think everything's good. And we're just starting to render the cursor in our polyrhythm visualization. And I'm calling no loop still, which I don't want to do. And we're gonna want to set the stroke width here to some parameter. I think cursor stroke width is sensible. Let's go here and to cursor stroke width. Actually, float. We'll make this. So we've got the stroke width. Let me actually set it in our parameters here. Set it up here. Cursor stroke width. Make that, I don't know, 8 or 6. Let's say 6. Build this again. Oh, getting a low bit rate warning. Wow, recommend you use a stream bit rate of 6800. I don't know, my fan is already whining. Stroke width. Oh, really? Oh, it's weight. Sorry, stroke weight. Stroke weight. I'll change that in the parameter name as well. Stroke weight, we'll call it. Cursor stroke weight. Recompile. Just a reminder, MCP is my alias for Maven Clean package. Even though the bit rate is low, yeah, I can update them. I can increase the bit rate a little bit. See if my computer chokes or not. Stream looks good. Okay, ignore the bit rate. Yes, sir. You're like my tech support, basically. Okay. Let's run this. Do we have a cursor flying across the screen? Nope. Nope. Yes. Briefly. The Y parameters look good. X was wrong. Ah, of course, I need to divide by. Everyone does. Are you an experienced OBS user, Ricky? I am not. But here, yeah, I want to divide by that, and I'll make sure it's a float. So I get a percentage now. Recompile that. Now we should get a slowly moving cursor. There we go. That is going to be our cursor. Okay, so 6 was a little thick. Ah, but I didn't call scale on it. That's why. See, I'm going to have to remember to invoke this scale method on every dimension, basically. Which is a bit clumsy. But that's okay. Yeah, I mean, that looks passable for now. Now, let's see. So for the actual coprime pairs, I'm going to want to draw on the top half and the bottom. Oh yeah, during the pandemic. Yeah, it's a little awkward so far. I wonder, I think a lot of people have a separate machine for capturing. Maybe not a lot, or maybe people just have a really powerful machine doing everything. But it'd be cool to just have a separate machine that's just looking at the monitor output. That's got to be a thing. Especially like if someone's doing crazy gaming, like rendering 3D graphics and streaming it. I don't know. Seems like you almost need 2 machines. Okay, so before we draw the cursor though, we're going to want to draw the set of vertical lines for the polyrhythm. So there'll always be one at the very start, and then there'll be n-1 more. Yeah, that's another idea I had, Ricky. And I think I will do that eventually, but this first one's going to be just timeline style. But yeah, bouncing balls is another fun idea for sure. Or even like same height but different gravity. Yeah, maybe different heights would be good. With a DVD logo hitting the corner of the screen. I'm not totally sure I understand. Oh, right. That kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. Yes. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's another great idea for this kind of visualization. Many options. I'll try to explore all of them eventually. So I'm probably going to want another, at least one more margin in between the top and bottom. I'm going to stack them vertically. So probably want some space. We can just start dividing it by half. Let's start without any fancy margins and add that after. So polyrhythm lines, let's call this. Now we're going to need more colors eventually, so I might as well get that over with. The parameterization of the colors, that is. So let's call it polyrhythm line color, polyrhythm line highlighted color. And do I want the top and the bottom different colors? Maybe. But let's start with this. Start simple and work on up. So for these, I was thinking a lighter gray for the polyrhythm line when it's just sitting there. So something like 190, 190, 190. And then, I don't know, let's do green for now, for the highlight. So that's 0, 255, 0. And then in this file, I want to do this same caching of the color. I guess I can just do this. Could use a regular expression to convert this camel case to snake case, but it's probably just quicker to do it manually. Let's see. Okay, now we've got those colors accessible. So we're gonna want to set fill, I guess. I guess we're gonna want fill instead of a line. We want a rectangle. Yeah, I think we want a rectangle. So fill. Actually, I have some methods. That handle this. Yeah, set fill and set stroke. That uses my color format. And I can invoke that. Here as well. That just simplifies this code a bit. So here we'll go set fill params dot what was it? Polyrhythm line color. Now we're going to draw a rectangle. Again, we need to parameterize the width now of the rectangle. Polyrhythm line width. Let's say something like 10 pixels for the time being. And actually, again, this is a float because processing uses floats for these. Polyrhythm line width. So we'll put the slower one on top. This is the lower of the two polyrhythm values. And I'll parameterize this method and invoke it, but I'll implement it like this first. So that tells us how many rectangles we need. And then, yeah, that will also divide up the space. I divided by number, give us the X position. Maybe we should just do this int number, and then we'll pass the Y start position. Yeah, because we can start them at different spots. Y start. And then invoking this on first pair lower and higher, the two polyrhythm values. Draw polyrhythm lines at 0. Y start is, gonna make that relative. Y start is relative to the margined space. Margined. Probably not a word, but that's okay. No, this will be margins. Maybe I should just store the margins as well, just like I did with proto. Might as well. Margins, proto. Is that what it was? Margins, proto. Yeah. Here we'll go margins equal proto.get margins. Now we don't need to keep getting the margins all over the place. They're just an instance variable. So here we're going to want margins dot get right no, this is the Y start, so margins dot get bottom. Well, no, we just want the absolute height here. So I need width minus the top and bottom margins. Well, no, that's the vertical width of the line. What we want is the top. So that's the width. I guess I can store this. Let's divide that by 2. View space width. This is the part that hasn't been cut out by margins. So that divided by 2. So in here we're going to do a rectangle, and I probably want no stroke for this rectangle, just a solid single color. And then in processing, the rectangle parameters are x1, y1, x2, y2. Oh, no, that's line. That doesn't make sense. In rect, it is, okay, the x and y, the corner, and then the width and height. Okay. So x is going to be I times view space. This should be view space height. Proto.get height minus top and bottom. Now view space width would be the same thing, but with left and right. And so let's say float x position, or just x is fine. Again, we'll use this linear interpolation function, which is really handy when you're doing graphical stuff. Polyrhythm line width is our width. Get polyrhythm line width, and height will be view space height divided by 2. Again, things I don't need to recalculate, so let's go calculate them up here and store them as instance variables. Width, view space height. Okay, so the linear interpolation is happening between margins dot get left and margins dot get left plus view space width, and then the percentage is I times 1.0 to make it a float divided by the number. Right? Yeah, yes, that's correct. Let's see what that looks like. Now, I will say, if I was using a heavyweight IDE like Eclipse or IntelliJ, I would more quickly see things like, hey, you need a semicolon, because it's constantly statically recompiling every time you change the code. So that is one benefit. Int and float. Oh. Yeah. Oh. Okay. I didn't finish. I never actually set these to anything. Which I need to do. Like this. Okay. Clearly not correct. Ah, the old scale. Scaling, yet again. This thing. I'm gonna really have to bake that into my memory to do this scaling down. And that would include... No, yeah, that should be right. Let's see. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Yeah, it's going to be important to get the sound going. And I'm missing the initial offset here as well. So instead of Y start, it'll be Y start plus margins get top. Compile that. Okay. Yeah, I mean, roughly that looks okay. Probably want to highlight the end somehow, so you know right when it's going to loop around. So I guess maybe just a different background color. Exactly. That's it, Ricky. You can make all the mistakes you want, and no one's gonna die. Well, at least when you're making a polyrhythm visualization, or even when you're developing something serious. During development, at least, you're free to just kind of go crazy. So let's see. Yeah, another background color would be good, and I think separation between the two lines would look good. But that's a decent looking start. When we scale that up, it'll look nice. I can make the rectangles wider. I'll probably want to increase the frame rate of this. I'm just kind of sitting here brainstorming about what's next. Just prioritizing. And okay, so that looks good for now. I'm going to take a very short break, and I will be back in 2 minutes. All caps is a little aggressive looking. Nope. There. Okay, and we're back. Yes. Exactly, Ricky. Yep, that's the plan. And ideally light up in a aesthetically pleasing fashion. Okay, so I wanted to add a margin in between. How do I want to do that? Middle gap, middle margin. I'm just gonna create a space. That's maybe the size of each line, or the size of the gap divided by 2. So middle gap divided by 2 pixels long. Just to keep it symmetrical about the margins that I defined. So in here, that's kind of ugly actually. You know what? I should just do top margin that I do on both sides. Rhythm line vertical margin, let's call it. And there's no dividing by 2. So we want the start to be plus params dot whatever that was called. Polyrhythm line vertical margin. Let's call it, well, let's go with like I don't know, 5 pixels maybe. So 5 pixels on each side basically. This needs to go on a new line. So that's where it's going to start. Now the height needs to subtract that amount. Yeah. So this should give us a little margin in between the two. Once it compiles. Oh, this should be proto. That's the proto within the params object that wraps the proto. Again, ignore this exception. That's part of the processing library. Something I can't change. Okay, the margin's there, but with the scaled down version, it's fairly visible. Let's change that to 20. There we go. That's more like it. That's kind of what I envisioned. Oh, wait a minute. Something looks off at the bottom there. Yeah, something is off. Okay. I guess I want to subtract 2 margins from the height for the top and the bottom. Yeah. Yeah. Hard to see when it's so small, that little detail. But okay, there we go. That's more like it. That's good. Okay, now let's do a background for the playback area, let's call it. String playback area color. And this should be an even lighter gray than the background. Well, lighter than the background, not as light as the polyrhythm line. So let's split the difference roughly here. Say 120. Or even, yeah, 110. Maybe lower this a little bit, darken the actual background. There's good enough contrast. Playback area color. So now I need to do that annoying process again that I'm doing with every color. I should probably change the way this is handled. It's a bit cumbersome to have to do this every time I want to add a color to the parameters. Get playback area color. Provide public accessors. Okay. So right after we draw the background, we'll have to say draw playback area, which is just going to be a rectangle with no fill. With no stroke, rather. With fill. Of playback area color. This is just going to be a rect. I'm going to put the scales in now so I don't forget. So this is just the margin points. So where the margin starts at X is margins dot get left. Margins dot get top. And margins. So this is the width I already stored that. View space width and view space height. Height. View space width and height. Okay. Let's see how that looks. Not great, but decent. Color scheme needs fixing. Maybe I want those lines. Well, first of all, I can make them wider. The actual polyrhythm rectangles, or polyrhythm lines, as I called them. Let's make them 2.5 times as well. And maybe I do want those to go all the way to the edge, but the playback area just needs to be a little bit lighter than the background. Let me again pull up a color picker. I'm just gonna Google RGB color picker. Or am I? Oh, the computer is not liking all this. Yeah. So there's 56. We just want 70. 70, let's say. Just so you can tell it's different from the background. Yeah, it's kind of more like what I envisioned. The sound is going to be important here, definitely. Should I do the sound next, or should I do the glowing next? Maybe let's do the glowing, because that'll be interesting. Draw cursor. So within draw cursor, this is where I'm going to want to trigger the highlighting. Except, so I need to calculate the cursor position separately and have it always available. And that's the X position, but that should be clear. So this will move up into draw. We'll always want this during draw. Cursor position. And we're linearly interpolating between these two values. So then I need to check if, so I want it to glow. I don't want it to be a fixed frame. I kind of want it to be drawn on top of the polyrhythm lines. Oh, Sorry about that, and knocked the mic. But I want to start some event where I fade the opacity according to some function. Maybe just linearly, maybe going from 1 to 0 in like a square root kind of fashion. With a longer glow and then a faster fade out. So there are several ways to go about that. Maybe I need to get the position of the polyrhythm lines, and then if the cursor position is crossing over the start of those lines, that's when I'll trigger not only a sound event but a glowing line event. So I'll say list of integer. That's what I'll return for the position of each polyrhythm lines. So list integer polyrhythm line positions. And we'll say absolute, I guess. Rather than within the play area, relative to the play area. Yeah, because that's what we get here. I'll add X positions just to be explicit. So in here, it'll look a lot like this. We're not going to scale it, so this will be unscaled. Let's just say, oh. Use an array list. Make sure we import all this stuff. I'm going to add all those positions to a list. I'll return that list. Really, it should be an immutable list. Again, yeah, let's do it in a mutable list, just for good measure. Mutability is really a great principle to adhere to. When you're doing projects of any reasonable size. Where was that other list? Here we go. Oh, I already imported it. Would you look at that? So I don't even need these. So we'll get the positions, then we'll draw polyrhythm lines. We'll change this to a list of positions. X positions. And we'll just iterate over those positions. This will be unboxed. This can go. So now here we just need to go. Oh, right. Maybe this method could be axed for now. Top rhythm, X positions. Lower. The big picture here is just a video that basically looks like what you saw, but with more bells and whistles, and for all the irrational pairs of polyrhythms. And then I want to highlight each one at a time so you can get a feel for learning these polyrhythms, and hopefully just enjoy watching it. That's the big plan. And then, like we were talking about earlier, variations on this with bouncing ball, potentially. The DVD thing, I like that, like bouncing off the sides of the wall. There are many different ways to visualize it, and potentially those are all different videos. So here we're gonna draw the top ones. Yeah, view space height divided by 2. Yeah, cursor position. Okay. I don't need to recalculate these every time we draw, though. But we can worry about that later. Once we have multiple visualizations going one after another. That'll be sort of the next step. Lisa Zhu curves. Wow, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that one will be interesting. I mean, like, you'll just need the angle of incidence. You just start with some random angle, and then every time it hits a wall, it gets reflected at that same angle of incidence, I guess. Or maybe it randomly perturbs the angle too. But if I'm randomly perturbing the angle, then I can't calculate the polyrhythm. Yeah, I want to be able to calculate in advance exactly how long it's going to take, so I can move it at the right speed. That'll be more interesting for sure. Not that this isn't. So now I can check if cursor position crossed over one of the X positions of either rhythm. So I guess I need to store the previous cursor position. Certainly one way to do it. We can make it -1 to start, because once it goes to 0, so here, previous cursor position is cursor position. And we're gonna have to deal with the modulo stuff happening when it loops back to the start. So let's just start with the top, and then I'll refactor it a bit to make it less duplicated. So let's iterate over position in top rhythm X positions. Now basically the condition is if this condition, this position is greater than previous position, and it is less than or equal to current position, play a note, start glowing the bar. Yeah. And at that point, we can break as well. Break out of the for loop, because it's only going to happen for one bar. So let's do the glowing first. So I'm gonna want like a glow frame counter. So let's say glow frame length. Let's add that as a parameter, as an integer. Glow duration frames. The number of frames that we want the bar to glow for. A pass is 60 frames. We're at 30 frames per second. Let's start with like 10 frames. Maybe that'll look okay. So let's have a counter here, like int top glow counter. Now if this is non-zero, it'll set the glow, so we can set this to proto.get glow duration frames, and then there'll be some kind of draw glow method. I'll call it top glow for now. Again, I need to duplicate this for both polyrhythms. So void, I can get rid of this private as I was saying, no need for visibility levels in this particular class. Top glow counter. So if top glow counter is 0, we can just return. This has nothing to do. Otherwise, what we want to do is interpolate. Man, this linear interpolation in processing sure comes in handy. So we want to interpolate this is the opacity that we're going to interpolate. So float opacity between 0 and 1. Well, we can actually just do it. We can do the alpha and do it between 0 and 255 because that's how you specify the alpha for a color. We're going to use that top glow counter divided by proto.get glow duration frames, and we'll make sure it's a float. And we'll decrement at the end of this, but I don't want just a linear glow. I want it to fade with, let's say, a square root. Is that right? Or even like a third root or fourth root. So let's say fourth root. That's 1 over 4. X to the 0.25 is the fourth root of x. So it'll stay brighter longer and then kind of quickly fade out at the end. We'll see how this looks, but I think that's a good start. Now here we need to actually draw the rectangle. Again, I'm going to do my scale. I do play the odd, well, mainly chess for games. I'm big into the chess. Got the chess bug long ago, and I sort of unwind with chess. But also music stuff, writing music, playing music. So this is the XY. This needs to be the same code as this, as this. So I can reuse this, but with an alpha, or with a color, basically. Color and float alpha. Yeah, also, yeah, there's a lot of board games I dig for sure, but chess is the king. So here we can go set color to I need a set color with alpha, or set fill with alpha anyway. Set fill with alpha. I could just add alpha to my color object, but let's just be hacky here and do this. It's not too hacky. Set fill with alpha. And then for this overridden method, we'll sorry, overloaded, not overridden, ridden, overloaded. We'll just invoke it with this color and an alpha of 255. Now we can get rid of this. So now, from our draw the glow thing, we can draw polyrhythm lines with our params dot glow top glow glow color. What did I call it? I haven't. Or I called it highlight color. Polyrhythm line highlighted color. Okay. Should probably be consistent. Ah, that's fine. Highlighted color. Yeah. Highlighted color. And then draw polyrhythm expositions. So I can say draw glow list integer expositions. Yeah, I'm gonna have to generalize this for the top and the bottom. But for now, let me just get the top working, and then we'll clean it up. Immutable list, not list. Okay, bunch of errors. Wow. What happened here? Drop on. Oh. Yes, indeed. Get rid of that. Variable builder. This 190. What? Oh, okay. Let's refresh compilation. See what else is wrong. Top glow. Cannot find something. Oh. Well then. What did I call it? Draw glow. Okay, let's call it top glow for now. Top G. 186. Pillar. What? Oh, this is maybe what all it is. But then a variable y start. Ah. Uh-huh. Yes, new builder. Need to pass in Why start when I call this top glow can why start need to pass in top rhythm expositions. Okay, I guess I do need integer there. Where's the method for add float? Oh, right. It's a list of floats, not integers. Float. Okay. Yeah, maybe I'll resort to playing some chess on stream one day. If I get stuck. Often a quick bullet game is a good way to set the brain straight. $124, what's going on? Yes. Float. I was thinking the exposition has to be an integer, but it's a float, clearly. Okay, and that builder, new. I tried to give it a capacity, I thought you could, but apparently not. Variable x, not found, 228. Ah, draw cursor. Draw cursor needs to be passed cursor position. There we go. That's the X position, but it's okay. Float cursor. Actually, I don't need to pass it. It's an instance variable. So instead of X, we need to do cursor position. Draw cursor. Get rid of that. $210. Another one of these. Float. 226. Yes. Okay. Should be good now. All right. We at least get to see what happens. Just gonna make a note that I'm using some nth root, whatever I specify here. Let's run this. Oh. Okay. I actually want the alpha to go the glow to go the other way. We might do that. We might have to do that. Probably blitz. So what was going on there? I was doing every... Yeah, I don't want expo... Man, come on. Come on. Top glow counter. Yeah. Right. Well, I still need that counter, but I need to track which bar we're at. Well, I can infer that with the cursor position and with the previous cursor position. Maybe I'll just store the top glow bar. Int top glow bar -1. Here we're gonna yeah, I guess we need to iterate. We'll call this the top glow bar index. We'll iterate over the indices. Of this list rather than directly over the elements. So now we can say this. We can just set this to 0 actually, because the alpha will take care. Top glow, yeah, then the top glow counter will take care of the 0 case, just in case that's an issue. So I don't need, oh, I do need this still, yeah. Maybe I'll have to store all this too. The list of, well, of course I'm gonna have to store that. There's no use recomputing it. But for now, I'll just do expositions.get top glow bar index. $171. Float cannot be converted to a list of float. Indeed. Well, there's my workaround. Oops. Not a workaround. Yeah, that's actually reasonable. don't know. I did want it from 0 to 255. Yeah. Maybe a lower power, maybe just square root is a good way to do it. And let's lengthen this a bit, number of frames. And I think I'm also going to increase the scale here. Double it. So that'll be more visible. Oh, right, yeah, I need to handle the case where it wraps around, as I said. Because in that case, the previous cursor position was not less than the cursor. Or rather, this is not true. X position is not greater than that, so we can do a special no, we need that or, but we don't need brackets here. We can do a special case checking if previous cursor is greater than current cursor position, then we know we've just looped back around and we're at the start of the list. Here we go. Nice. Still kind of ends a bit abruptly. Maybe linear is fine. So I'll see what that looks like. Just raising it to the power of 1. The alpha of the green bar. Yeah, okay. Linear looks better. Or maybe even like a long tail would look good. Like x squared. Let's see, just out of curiosity. Hey, Deepesh. Deepesh Nama. How you doing? No problem. Okay, that looks better, I think. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Yeah, go ahead, Deepesh. What you got? What's your question? While you're thinking of your question, we uh, we are ready to generalize that to the bottom half as well. And we can stop computing this every time. But I do intend to eventually run this for several pairs of numbers, like coprime pairs of numbers. But that's okay. Now, for now, we'll just do this. We'll calculate these in the setup method. The expositions of the current polyrhythm that we're drawing. I want a civil engineering background, want to make a career in IT. Can I switch in it? And I also have a gap of 5 years. I don't know if a gap is a problem for employers. So IT, like you want to learn how to code kind of thing, or you want to do actual like IT work? Because typically IT is different than like software engineering or computer engineering. IT usually means you're like maintaining the infrastructure for some company or something. Nowadays, people like to start with learning Python. It's pretty accessible and easy, so that's a decent way to start. I like Java probably just because I happen to start with it, so it's like my native tongue in a way. Java, you'll learn more general programming principles and practices from a language like C++ or Java, an object-oriented. Well, they're all object-oriented now, but typing, like a strictly typed language, I feel like you'll learn more about what's actually happening within the computer to a greater degree. That's all kind of hidden from you with a language like Python. JavaScript, I can't say I'd recommend as a language to start with. Mern stack. Yeah, okay. All this like front end stuff. You can do that, but I don't know. If you're just getting started, I guess I would recommend not JavaScript. Probably Python, or maybe. Yeah, honestly, Python is a great starting language, I think. Or yeah, maybe TypeScript nowadays too, which is like JavaScript, but has supplanted it as far as I know. I am from Canada. Okay, back to the coding. We've cached these positions here. Polyrhythm line, X positions. Lower, higher. Good. So I don't need to pass these around, nor do I need to recalculate them. Actually, let's grab that, draw top glow. Here we could say that. No, maybe I want to keep that parameterized for now, because I'm gonna write just a draw glow So let's see. We'll need this, and we'll need the Y start of the rectangles. And I think that's everything we need. Yeah. Maybe I need to pass a function to modify the glower. Not a function, but just a consumer. A function that takes one argument and returns nothing. Decrement counter. So I'll pass the glow counter and a consumer that I can invoke to decrement the correct counter. So here I just want to go, if glow counter is that, then I'll invoke decrement counter instead of that, because if I decrement, this is just going to be a copy of whatever instance variable I pass. Y start, yeah, Y start, that's the Y position. Draw glow. So this had X positions. 0 for the Y start on top glow counter, and then oh, you know what, I don't even need a consumer, I just need a runnable. Because I'm not passing in a value, I'm just going to use the instance variable from the class. If it lets me do that, I'm not sure it'll let me do that. Let's see. If not, and probably the correct way actually is just to use an array of glow counters and index into them. Like, I'm assuming I might want to extend this to beyond just 2 polyrhythms. Oh, right. Decrement counter dot run. Let's see if that works. Maybe, yeah, glow counter index. Even if this does work, it's probably better to, yeah, it works, but it's better to use an index into an array of glow counters. So So let's call that glow counters at glow counter index. And then here I will just do this. Glow counters top glow counter int glow counters. And then in the setup we'll instantiate this to be a new int array. Well, it's just of 2, but I can make a note in the future. We might want to parameterize the number glow counters. Glow counter index. Yeah. Now for the bottom, where else did this get invoked? It didn't get invoked. So So I need to pass a 0 to the top one. And then to the bottom one, view space height divided by 2 plus 2 times. Yeah, I guess I delete this code right here. Draw polyrhythm lines. Ah, no, okay. I just need to divide it by 2. Okay, now we should have the top and bottom glowing when we run it. Let's see. If it compiles, oh, nope. Top glow counter is still being called somewhere. Ah. Right. Yes, we need to parameterize this loop as well for the top and bottom. So check for glow start. And we'll pass that a list of X positions, and we'll pass it the glow index, or glow counter index, yeah. And then we'll loop over these. to say glow counters at glow counter index. So we need glow bar indices as a list as well, also of size 2. So in that case it was 0. So here, yeah, glow bar indices at glow counter index equals I. That's more like it. Okay. So now instead of that for loop directly in draw, we're going to call check for glow start index 0. Oops. And index 1. And that reminds me here, wait, draw glow. Okay, we need to update this, parameters to this. Right, this can be removed. So can this. Let's have a look. Nope, clearly wrong. So it's lighting up the bottom bar at the same time as the top. And really, once you get parallel arrays, that's a sign that you need a better data structure. One data structure that you index into. And these are parallel arrays. They might be okay here. Might be passable. It's sort of a judgment call sometimes. Glow counter index. Ah! That's all it was. There we go. That's looking good. One, two, one, two, one, two, three, one, two, three. Okay. Another visual thing I wanted to implement is the highlighting of just the top and just the bottom. One, two, three, one, two, and three. One, two, one. Right? But I want to be able to focus on just the top half or just the bottom half. So I want maybe like a semi-transparent overlay to darken one half. I can draw a rectangle with no fill over top the half I want to direct attention away from. I think that'll be it. But this is also a good time to commit these changes. Okay. So that's committed. Now the highlighting. Yeah. Right. Well, I want I want the whole thing visible. I just want to kind of like decrease the saturation, so to speak, on one half. So I'll show the whole thing. Then I'll show well, the top with the bottom darkened, so that in your mind you can focus on just that one polyrhythm and sort of hear it more prominently, even when both of them are playing at once, just as a means of sort of musically grasping what's going on. With some of these weirder ones, it'll be like 5/7. But yeah, and I might want them to have different colors anyway. But we can do that later. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try an overlay. So I'll use some opacity. I don't know. Right, this is going to be the opacity. Of the overlay. So the lower it is, the less it will darken. Should make a note of that. I'm just going to add a pass counter. To show which pass we're on, and a pass being one instance of the cursor going completely across the screen. So I can make decisions on like when to turn on the highlight. I think I'll draw it after the cursor. Let's say pass counter mod 3. This is just temporary, just to visualize what's happening. Yeah. Yep. No, it's true. I could use HSV and just lower saturation. But then the problem there is, excuse me, I would need to separate the background rectangle of the play area, which is also a totally valid way to do it. This way I can just kind of throw a transparent overlay on top. Yeah, I want to overlay more than just the blocks. I want the background too. Actually, let's do this. So this is darken the bottom, darken the top. I'll make a for this 2 that's everywhere. I'll just have this for now in case I do ever want to generalize it further. Void darken. So I'm just gonna draw a rectangle at margins dot left, get left, that is, margins dot get top, plus region times view space height divided by 2. So that'll go to the second region when I pass it a 1. But first I need to go no fill, or sorry, no stroke, and set fill with alpha to I can just make a permanent black for this. Zero. Proto. This will be that opacity I just defined times 255. Hey, thanks, Kemal-san. Thanks, man. Thanks for the info on that Python library. That was really cool. I might check that out. I didn't realize that was the blue one brown, whatever his name is, that guy, his library that he made. It's pretty slick, I gotta say. Get darken opacity. Okay, so let's just see what this looks like. Ah, let's not forget to scale stuff. Oops. There. Yeah, steep learning curve. I haven't really checked it out in depth, but just the examples I saw were impressive. And I guess if it's going to be really powerful, it's hard to avoid the steep learning curve. Oh, what did we do here? Oh. I only gave it the top corner and not the width and height. So the width is going to be view space width, and the height is going to be view space height divided by 2. Let's see. So it should start off with nothing darkened. Then it should darken the bottom. Okay. Yeah. Whoa. Oh. Other than the rectangles being the wrong size, that is what I planned. Ah, I just didn't call scale on those last 2 bits. Okay, that looks good. Now, did the first one light up when I started it? Right at the start, does the 0th one not glow? Let me see. Yeah, okay, it does. This is kind of what I was envisioning, Ricky, and it turned out okay. Your way is also totally valid, of course. Nice. I'm happy with this. So, but I'm gonna want to change this for the video to when exactly it highlights. Also, getting the sound in there will be the next big thing to do. I think maybe what I'll do for the actual visualization video is have say 4 iterations or some number of iterations through the whole thing with no darkening, and then say 2 passes with one darkened, 2 passes with the other darkened, and then play the whole thing again. So that's need the number of passes at the start, number of passes at the top darkened, number of passes at the end. So we'll just parameterize these different phases. Yeah, Ricky, that's a good idea. Yes. Even, yeah, maybe just slightly lower. Good call. Man, I've got some serious lag. Maybe that's what the bitrate warning is all about. I don't know. I wonder in OBS, can I check the current lag time? No dropped frames. I don't know. Huh. Oh well, I won't worry about it. Okay, all right, 10 seconds. That's not too bad. But I'm just looking too at the from the YouTube Studio interface. What it's showing me? Oh, it's because I'm not on live. There we go. Okay. All right. Yeah, my brain too. Clearly. I was playing back the video in YouTube Studio, but it wasn't. I should just pause that. That's just a waste of memory then, because I can see it in OBS. I don't need to see it in two spots. Figuring out OBS and coding stream. This has actually been a great learning experience in terms of the streaming stuff, in large part due to Ricky Taylor in the chat. Big shout out. Okay, so here we'll go. We can just do a big if-else sort of thing on the pass counter. Let me paste those names in. Get num start passes. Actually, I guess I'll start from the end. And work my way back. Is that? No, I guess I can do this. No darkening. Else if pass counter is less than, get num bottom dark passes. Then I want to darken the bottom. Else if the pass counter is less than the number of top, then we're going to darken the top. No darkening. Okay. And then if oh, wait a minute here. I guess I need this happening at the end. So here's where I want to like do a no loop thing and stop the animation if pass counter is great. I guess I should sum this. Total passes. Here I can go. I can do this in the setup method. This just needs to be the sum of these guys. Oh, and I need to keep a cumulative running total actually here. Yeah. Okay, wait a minute. Let's get this correct. Total passes. Get num end passes. So if pass counter equals total passes, then we just no. Plus plus. Yeah. Right. I need this within that loop. Yeah. There we go. Not loop, within that if statement. So now it should do whatever I parameterized it to do, which is 4 passes at the start, 2 at the bottom dark, 2 at the top dark, and then 4 more at the end with nothing dark. So let's count them. Once this compiles, here we go. 2, 3, 4. Now the bottom should be dark for 2, and now the top for 2, and now everything again for 4. And then it should stop. Okay. Yeah, I don't like it stopping on that. It should stop with cursor disappearing or stopping at the end. Oh. Yeah, what? Okay, this is off by 1 frame. The way I have this. Maybe this is what I should use. Frame count mod pass duration. Then I can correctly update. Oh, not there. Anywhere but there. Then I don't need this. I want if this equals 0, then we've made a pass. But there's this weird thing about the frame count starting on 1. What does it do? Like during the first call to draw, I need to look at the processing documentation for frame count. In setup, the value is 0. During the first iteration of draw, it is 1. Okay. So frame count minus 1 is what I want for the 0th frame. I guess. Where do I first set pass counter? Anywhere? Oh, weird. Yeah, okay. I guess I want this down here after all. I guess what I can do is when this equals the number of frames, that's when next time around it's going to be 0 and the cursor will go to 0. I think this is right now. I'll see if this fixed that little off by 1 thing. Sort of staircase counting. 3, 4, 5, 6. What? What's going on? Oh, I broke it. Didn't increment my... Oh, of course. I need... No, I need the mod pass duration +1. That's what I need. Because the frame count just keeps going up indefinitely, so only once will it equal the pass duration frames. Okay, let's see. 2, 3, 4. I guess that's, yeah, 1/30th of the way. So that shows me as well when I draw cursor, or when I calculate the cursor position. I want to divide by this -1. That'll make it so it's 100% at the frame right before pass durations, and the cursor should be right at the end. And then I guess I'd like to not draw the cursor in that case. Yeah, the cursor is definitely going to the end now. Fully. 2 more passes and we'll see where it ends. Oh, that was the last pass. Okay. Good. That looks good. Even leaving the cursor on might be okay. Although I think I might like for it to disappear. And then maybe it's easiest to just run this several times without trying to parameterize it to have all the different polyrhythms in a single output file. I can just stitch them together after the fact. So let's see. Show cursor. I can in the draw method, I can add a show cursor. Yeah, it's smoother, right? I don't think I noticed either. These little off by a couple pixel things can be easy to miss. And then down here I want to go if show cursor. Oh, but yeah. Well, this is okay. I can do it up here, I think. Don't see a problem with that. I think. Because I darkened over the cursor, which was good. I liked how that looked. Now, if show cursor here. Now on the very last frame, it should just not show the cursor. Right on, Ricky. Thanks a lot for the help, too. Yeah, we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot. Sweet. Yeah, the rubber duck thing is real. It has helped me stay focused and not just start blitzing out 50 bullet games of chess instead of focusing on the task at hand. Here I want to pause for just a couple frames. Yeah, and a few intro frames. But yeah, that might be a good place to pause for now, too. Take a little break. Maybe come back later tonight. Made some good progress on this. It's shaping up pretty nicely. Just a few things left to do. So I think we'll call it at that. Thanks for tuning in. Looks like maybe one person is left. Thanks a lot for checking it out, and I'll be back later. Have a good one.